Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:30 p.m. Central Time, Saturday, March the 16th. I'm Leon Davis, and you are tuned in to Altitude Adjustment. I'd like to thank a guardian angel of mine, L.J. Boyd. He's introduced me to some great personalities, and one of them I'm going to be talking with today, and that'll be John Martin Branson the Third. That's coming up right now. Welcome to Altitude Adjustment. Alrighty, so I want to bring John in here. You're on there, John. You can hear me? Hello? John? It seems I have lost John. Let me see if I can call him back.
Hello.
There we go. How you doing, John?
I'm doing pretty good, Leon. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. You hear me very well?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Excellent. That's good to hear. So, here we go. Hold on. So I have you have an opportunity to participate in the podcast. If you go to the live stream page, you can type information, and then I will at least be able to see that and try to include that into the podcast. I want to thank John first off for taking this opportunity to talk to me. You want to tell people a little bit about yourself, John?
Well, I'm John Martin Branson III. I'm a third generation college graduate. I attended Mississippi Valley State University. I've worked as a social worker, school teacher, and rehab counselor. I'm currently retired, and I'm from Mississippi.
Okay, and that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that you are a graduate of Mississippi Valley State University. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and you were gonna. So what LJ said to me about you was that, and you and I talked a little earlier, that you are a big fan of history, and so you study a lot of history, and you were one of the things that you do. First off, you have a disability, correct?
Yes, I suffered a stroke 5 years ago.
Okay.
And since that time, I've been, I guess, partially handicapped because I still can move around just at a very slow pace.
Mm-hmm. And part of, I guess, your rehabilitation or what you're going through is that you share inspirational quotes and school history with your followers on Facebook. Is that correct?
Yes, I do a daily devotional every morning, and I share with my friends, Facebook friends, and my family. And also, I chronicle the 1980s Mississippi Valley State. That was my time, the decade of the 1980s. So what I've done for the last 2 or 3 years is, it all started with me writing about the football players because, you know, playing sports is a team effort. And so they were just gearing it toward one specific famous player that we had. And I decided to write about the entire team as individuals to give the public a little perspective on who the other team members were. And at the same time, I decided to incorporate the entire campus, student body, sports figures in every sport, as well as the administration, as well as the administration and staff too. So really, the entire campus. Yes.
Okay. And how do you feel that that's going?
Well, I think it's going pretty good. I mean, the homecoming of 2016 brought back the largest crowd they've had in maybe 2 or 3 or 4 decades. Uh, it's very popular. I don't write as often as I want since I have my foot in the door now, but I'm always finding some snippet to come up with to
Okay.
take us back to the 19 to the I call it the era of good feeling,
Okay.
the 1980s.
So what was your degree in?
My degree was in social science with the emphasis on sociology.
And what made you decide that how did you get into history and being such a history buff?
Well, that really started in the ninth grade. I had a teacher, uh, Mrs. Georgianne Clark Ford. She was Miss Ward then, and she was teaching Mississippi history and civics. And it all started there. I started reading everything I could get on any type of history, world history. I especially like U.S. history, dealing with the presidents.
Okay. And what made you decide on MVSU?
Well, I wanted to go to a HBCU. I already knew that off the bat. And Jackson State was off the table as far as I was concerned. And I wanted to stay in state. So I didn't particularly care for Alcorn, so I only left one more. So I came to Valley. It was the best thing I ever did, really, honestly.
Excellent. So yeah, we were talking, before when we were setting up the interview, and you had talked about that there were a number of schools in the area. Uh, so there was Alcorn, there was MVSU. What were the other two?
Well, Mississippi has three predominantly, well, three historical black universities that are predominantly black: Jackson State, Alcorn, and Mississippi Valley. They also have uh, four other schools: Mississippi State, the University of Mississippi, the University of Southern Mississippi, and Mississippi College for Women.
Okay. And
We have Delta State. I forgot. We have Delta State University too.
yeah, that's a lot of universities in a small area. So now, are you originally from that area?
Well, I grew up in two places. I call Drew, which is in the northern part of the state in the Mississippi Delta. I call it home,
Hmm.
and I've called Prentice home. Prentice is my family's ancestral home,
Okay. So
and Prentice is in Southwest Mississippi.
okay. So so give me some of that history that we had talked about. Some of the history for the MVSUs. How their original mission, how that got changed, and share that with some of the people.
Well, in the 1940s, the Mississippi legislature authorized a new university, and it was my understanding that the Delta was specifically chosen. In the Delta, you have mostly plantations, and it's rich in cotton and soybeans and all that sort of thing. And it was my understanding the university was placed there to somehow keep the blacks within the area close to the plantation because they were beginning to migrate north and other points in the United States. And Mississippi Valley State was authorized, and the site chosen originally was Greenwood, but the white establishment there did not want the university that close to them. So they listed Itabena, which was 7 miles down the road. It didn't want it either. So it's my understanding that a farmer offered to sell some land about a mile from Itabena in the cotton patch. And President James Herbert White was the sitting president at that time at Lane College, but he was hired to get the university off the ground. And the name officially was Mississippi Vocational College, which was to be really a vocational college offering farming, carpentry, home economics, and things like that. And the first shovelful of dirt was turned on February 1st, 1950. Then Mississippi Governor Fielding Wright came to the area, and from my understanding, it was a very cold day, and other dignitaries, and that's where it had its beginning. Uh, Governor Wright was there, new President James Herbert White, and other area dignitaries were present. And it escapes me what year Valley graduated their first class, but it was in the 50s. So 1950 is the first year for the university.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure when the mission changed to go academic.
Mm-hmm.
I know by the time the name was changed in 1964 to Mississippi Valley State College, and it was changed again in 1976 when Governor William Waller signed the bill authorizing elevating Valley State along with three other schools to university status.
Mm-hmm.
I think Delta State, Jackson State, and Alcorn were elevated to university status.
Excellent.
And of course, during the 1960s, Valley was undergoing change just like all of the other schools. Student bodies were changing. The Black Panthers were in full force, and blacks were becoming more aware of their heritage, and they were demanding to be given a more free reign in their own destiny. And these presidents were really not for these changes. So you had James Herbert White at Mississippi Valley, and J.D. Boyd at Alcorn, and Jacob Reddick at Jackson State. And the Board of Trustees was an all-white board. And in the South, you had to know how to handle the power structure at that time. So you had to be meek in order to get things for the university, and it served good up until the late 60s when the black students, they were beginning a revolt. And Valley wasn't the only school across campus. We had the shooting at South Carolina State, the shooting at Jackson State, the rioting at Alcorn and Mississippi Valley, where the president, in his infinite wisdom, saw fit to have a lot of the student bodies transported to the Mississippi State Penitentiary because they refused to obey an order to quiet down and not riot. So in the 1970-71 school year, the black presidents were all dismissed. President White left Mississippi Valley, J.D. Boyd left Alcorn, Jacob Reddick left Jackson State. So basically, Valley went a cultural shift around that time. And Ernest Boykins succeeded him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When I arrived at Valley in the summer of 1981, Dr. Boykins had retired, and we was in transition again. And Dr. Nathaniel Beauclair was the acting president when I arrived. However, by the spring of that year, Dr. Joe Louis Boyer had been hired as the third university president, and he was the president during my entire tenure.
Okay, so during your time at the college, how much do you think that the surrounding area impacted your life on the campus?
Well, Greenwood has always been a racial hotbed, and
Mm-hmm.
it hadn't changed very much from the 1960s. I mean, it was a little more open, but we were always conscious that we were the school in the cotton patch. And I want to say we were probably one of the largest employers in the county, but you can still feel the stigma of racism and prejudice in the city of Greenwood. You can still feel it to this day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay, I went to a small college. It was, I think, 4,500, 5,000, around that. And and you and I had talked, and MVSU is about the same, correct?
Right. When I was there, the state enrollment was 2,500, and it stayed that number uh during my tenure. And
Hmm.
now I think it's at 3,000. I saw that somewhere.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, so, yeah, one of the things that you're quite proud of is that you went to this school. What do you feel was the advantage to being at this college?
Because the student teacher ratio was excellent. You felt like you was somebody. The teachers cared. And also, let me point out in my historical statement about the college, the 1980s was perhaps the greatest periods in Mississippi Valley history, thanks to sports. Uh, Archie Gunslinger Cooley was hired in the spring of '81 to revitalize Valley's glory, and he took us to unprecedented heights, um, which included the school's first and only 9-win season. Uh, we played on. We were the first college in the state of Mississippi to play on a Sunday because our campus was too small to host Alcorn and Valley that year in the fall of '84 because we was on the collision course all year, and everybody kept hoping that we would remain undefeated, and we was putting up unheard of points on the school board, 86-0, 77-15. So we had the fascination of the entire nation. Sports Illustrated, the Sporting News, the Pittsburgh Courier, were all making their way trying to find Ilabena. And we were also ranked as high as number 4 in the NCAA Division One. At that time, it was the Division One AA, and we were also ranked for 4 consecutive weeks in the Sheridan Black College Bowl. And um, we were also invited to the NCAA playoffs that year, which we had to play Louisiana Tech down in Ruston, Louisiana.
Hmm. Now that was Division 1A, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They were at that time they were Division One AA,
Oh, okay.
but they have since been have elevated
Elevate to
up to
1A.
it's not 1A anymore. It's like they got different segments. I don't understand that now, but they're not the old division class has been abolished, but
Hmm.
we're elevated to Division 1A, the big school.
Okay. So,
And also we produced Jerry Rice.
hmm,
Uh, he's been acknowledged as the greatest player to ever play the position of wide receiver in the National Football League, and also he's one of the greatest black college football players ever produced in the HBCU history. So that's what made me start writing about his teammates because we appreciate his glory, but it was more than just him on the team. You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Hmm.
So I wanted people to meet these other players that no one knew about. You had the Tons of Fun, which was one of the most feared offensive fronts in black college football. And you had what we called the five pick 'em stick 'em defense, which was definitely the most feared defense. They were feared on Saturday afternoons, and we were massacring people on a weekly basis. The game in Jackson that Sunday, we played before the largest crowd to ever witness a college football game in the state of Mississippi, as well as the first one on a Sunday, as I already stated.
Hmm.
The announced attendance was 63,808 in the stadium that seated on the 62,100. So it was an overflow crowd. So many tickets were being sold that at the halftime people were still trying to get in, and the Hines County Fire Marshal asked them to cease because they were afraid of a panic. If there was an emergency,
Right.
it was going to be a stampede. I mean,
Right. It's going
I
to be
have to
difficult
send
for
I have
everybody
to
to get
send
out.
you the picture. I have to send you a picture of the empty stadium and a picture of the stadium that day. It's one of the most famous photographs in sports history in Mississippi.
So, while you're talking about that, do you maintain like a website with this information, or how do you
I basically, you
Keep
know,
the
I tell you,
information. Is it just
I
like in your head or?
well, a lot of that I still remember, and I have every yearbook too.
Hmm.
So a lot of stuff I'm pretty well known for my memory. You
Hmm.
know, with my family as well. I can remember. I can remember every day, my every day at Valley like it was yesterday.
Okay.
You know, and the '80s was such a. We were also Valley's basketball team in 1986. We won. We played in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, which we call the SWAC.
Hmm.
And that year we won in order to go to the 64 field NCAA basketball tournament. You have to win. Valley has to win the conference to get the automatic bid. So we won the tournament, and our opponent was Duke, the number one team in the country.
Hmm.
So everybody was still, once again, everybody was trying to find Itabena. Coach Lafayette Striblin was the coach at that time, one of the greatest coaches in Mississippi history and in high school basketball history as well. Well, we played Duke. We actually led Duke at the half. After the break, in my opinion, the referees started calling phantom fouls, and our starting five was quickly sent to the bench. We lost by only 7, which I think is an impressive showing against the number one team in the country,
Right.
Duke.
Hmm. So um, when I went to school, a lot of uh, the people who were there kind of met their mates in college. Are you married?
No,
No, no marriage.
no. But
Okay.
a lot of my friends met their spouses there, and they're still married over
Hmm.
30 years later.
Yeah, yeah. So what was social life like on the campus?
Well, you had your of course, you had your athletes. They were always popular.
So, well,
Um,
let me ask you this question.
when I
Um,
was editor of the newspaper, I conducted a weekly poll of campus personalities. Number one, who was the top 20, and each week the football team would dominate. You
mhm.
know, of course, you had your sororities and fraternities.
Okay.
They're always popular.
Hmm.
At that time, Leon, it was just a closeness. There was a bond with everybody. There weren't that many fights, and if there were fights, people usually made up. Nobody reached for a gun then. Everybody truly loved each other. The teachers, they cared about you. I had a habit of missing class, and I was always sent warnings about. I've actually been sent back because I was late for class. Go back to bed and try it again next time.
Okay.
So it was just a closeness there. I mean, everybody just really loved each other. We still close after all these years.
So you keep in touch with a lot of the people that you went to school, college
Oh
with.
my, yes, Facebook has been a godsend for everybody.
Hmm.
I do all my writing. I don't have a particular page. I just do it at random. I go through my yearbooks and I try to highlight not just the popular students. I try to highlight get us a person from all segments of college life. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have, of course, in anything, there are people, a group of people. You have your popular ones, you have the ones not so popular, as well as teachers. Some teachers were so popular, they had waiting lists for their class.
Hmm.
And it was just a good time to be alive. It was a good time to be in Mississippi Valley. It really was.
So college. So the atmosphere there, what you felt was very conducive for you to be a more well-rounded person in education and
Exactly.
as a
Yes,
personality.
exactly. I mean, everybody was your friend. I mean, if you didn't know everybody's name, you recognize a face. If you see them today, I went to school with you. You know,
Hmm.
we still got that. We still have that camaraderie. The
Hmm.
football team. I was instrumental in bringing back that 1984 team. For reunions, first time in 33 years. We got about 25 back, which is not bad. And we've lost a few
Hmm.
to death. And even today, when we lose a member of our student body, our peers, we'll always highlight that if I find out about it. we lost one of our dear football players last year who was a good friend to me, and that it was pretty devastating. Some deaths still rock us. We just never get used to death.
Sure.
People came back from far and near for that film. We lost 3 last year.
So now you said
And,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
sir, that's the anytime we lose a member of we call it our community, it affects us all. You know what I'm saying? Not just the family. So I take it upon myself. It could be that I could find out about somebody passing 5 years ago. It's news to us because we didn't know. So I'll go and highlight, let everybody know we lost one of our friends. You know, it keeps us kind of in the loop.
Right.
You know?
I mean, if you've got a community and you've got that camaraderie, then you just kind of maintain connections.
Yeah, and they've named me the de facto historian of the '80s. They'll call and tell me things, and of course I put it in. I've been blessed with the gift to write. It doesn't take me long to whip up something. I can see a picture, and that's a story to me.
Sure.
I can build a story around one picture. And we're still close to this day. LJ was very popular on the yard. One of our leading musicians. He's also head of the student union board, which is very powerful. On any campus, they're the one who bring the entertainment to the school. So he was a very able-bodied leader. He's a musician of top quality. Our band was also, he was a member of that. Our band was pretty well known. Our band made 2 appearances in the Tournament of Roses parade in the '60s. We were the only band invited from HBCU.
Excellent. So as a editor, you was a main editor for the school paper. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The student paper. I stayed in friction with the president, of course.
Oh, okay. Share some of that story.
Well,
what was that like?
He once had me transported to the LaFleur County Jail. I was radical.
Okay.
Every so often, the College Board tries to put the squeeze on us. And at that time, they tried again, and I wrote an editorial which was picked up by the wire services. And he got wind of because it ran in his hometown. And I was summoned to the palace. And he told me, I'll never forget, he asked me, who do I think I was? Because I had said in my editorial that he should go back to where he came from because he doesn't know what this university means to this area of the state. And I asked him, I said, well, who are you? You know, of course, that about another.
That escalated things
from his office.
Yeah.
I was always trying to fight for the student. I like student body makes up the school, and still y'all won't provide transportation to some of these games, you know. And I was dismissed from his office more times than I care to remember. You know, I know when my year as editor came to an end, he breathed a collective sigh of relief.
Okay. So now, some of the things that we talked about also was that you were surprised by some of the behavior in that area. You know, some of the atrocities that were committed in that area, and it was one that you mentioned that I wasn't aware of, and that was the school fire.
Every year in February, you know, it's Black History Month.
Right.
So one year, every day that month, I put up something from the annals of Black history. And this year, I didn't do it every day, but I tried to do it once or twice a week.
Okay.
But this year, I discovered there was a fire in my state. I currently live in Arkansas. And there was a fire here in 1959. Somebody sent this to me and said, you may want to look into this. When I looked into it, I was horrified. I was like, oh my God. It was the Riceville School for Delinquent Negro Boys. And it was at Riceville, Arkansas. And I don't forget the date, it was in June. If it wasn't June, it was in the summer. the boys had a hard day of work, and they went to the dorms and they padlocked the boys in the dorm. But somewhere before day there was a fire with the windows,
Hmm.
and the other exits were padlocked shut. They couldn't get out, and so some of the boys ordered something of them. Uh, kept on till they pushed the wire out, broke the windows, and got out. However, 21 of them did not make it out, pushed back by flames, and when the fire was extinguished, they were found all stacked in the corner, such about 3 or 4. That's horrible. What a horrible way to die.
Yeah.
And
So,
one of the workers said years later, said as long as he lived, he would be affected by that because uh, he heard them hollering for help, and there's nothing they could do but just watch, you know.
hmm,
And well, in the South, oh, we had in 1960, it's in the 60s, no, 55. Emmett Till, I'm sure you're familiar with Emmett Till.
sure. Hmm.
He was lynched, a 14-year-old boy in the look not far from Valley State in the Delta,
Hmm.
and uh, then you had Reverend Herbert Lee in Belzoni. Uh, he owned his own store
Hmm.
and had his own press. Well, he was shot.
Hmm. I don't want to.
Uh,
I don't want to go too far down that path. We don't want to.
well, I just want to tell you one more.
Okay.
Uh, Lamar Smith and Brookhaven in my, which is not far from my ancestral home, was shot on the courthouse lawn. You know,
Hmm.
all this in the name of voter registration.
Okay.
Uh, in the spring of 1982, David Clark was running to become the first black congressman from Mississippi since Reconstruction. And Valley, we played a huge part. Don Miller in the Social Science Department, we all had to go. We spread out in the county, registering people to vote.
Hmm.
That was an exciting experience. He didn't win, but it was an experience I never forgot. You know, friendships were forged. I met people out there in the country on plantations that few of them are still friends today. We managed to keep in touch.
Hmm.
So,
So now,
yeah, Valley was just united for everything the community asked of us. We was there. We never said no. So,
um, so let me ask you. Um, some of the recent. I don't know what your politics are, and I don't know. Are you? Do you follow a lot of politics?
well, I follow something. I'm a lifelong Democrat. There are two subjects I kind of stay away from: politics and religion. Those are hot topics,
Okay.
and that which can send precious dooming. Uh,
Okay.
but politics down here, there was a time when the South was solid Democrat.
Hmm.
But beginning with the presidential election of 1980 and Ronald Reagan, all the states down here are red now.
Hmm.
I mean, the Democrats usually could always count on the South. Lyndon Johnson, uh,
Sure.
he tried to silence Fannie Lou Hamer at the convention because he didn't want the nation to hear her speech.
I
Uh,
remember that. Hmm.
but the station, the networks out, he called a news conference right when
Hmm.
she was giving her address. So, but he failed in that because the next day they broadcast it in its entirety.
So let me ask you a question about politics on the campus. So while you were there, was there a keen awareness of the politics, or do you feel like you were insulated?
Mm, no, I don't think we could. I think
Okay, I think we just got disconnected. Yeah, we'll try one more time. We've got a couple of minutes at
I don't
left.
know
There we
what
go.
happened.
That's quite all right. It's internet, and it's quite possible anything could have happened to make the disconnection.
Well, yeah, we was aware of what was happening, Leon, because how could we not be? Especially when it came to Mississippi politics, because we were, the College Board, the Mississippi Institute, maybe Mississippi, the College Board of the Mississippi Institutions of Higher Learning was made up of a lot of legislatures. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So the funding, we always was interested in who's going to be elected, and because Valley has always been the stepchild. We always got less than anybody. We're one of the youngest in the nation, and we never was adequately funded.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ayers case was finally settled after 30 years, and that was filed by a guy from Glen Allen, I think, over around Greenville, Mississippi, on behalf of his son and someone else. That was like in '75, but it took them forever to settle that case. And we got some monies from there, but there's always needed value. We've always got campaigns going to, help with our funding. We're trying to get a strong alumni, but to answer your question on politics, yes, I was always aware when I was there,
And the reason I ask is I didn't feel like on the campus that I was on, and I know that each individual has to seek out. Each different campuses do different things. So, campuses in large urban areas, are closer to politics on a daily basis, whereas like it was in a really small town, politics wasn't so prevalent. And so if you wanted to be politically aware, you had to actually make that effort for yourself. And so I was curious, with you being part of the student paper, did you ensure that, or would you make politics a part of the things that you wrote about? And I don't just mean campus politics, but I mean national politics.
I mean, yes, okay. And also you have to understand that we had some very able-bodied instructors in the political science department. Eugene McLemore, Don Miller, all those guys in that department in all the areas. They made sure that we were aware. As I stated, when Mississippi State Representative David Clark was running for Congress, we were all made aware. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We were all asked to pitch in. I mean, we had some very strong. Don Miller was one of the most vocalist, and Eugene McLemore they were two of the most vocal, politically minded individuals we had, and we practically worshiped them. I latched on every word they said.
Very good. Okay, I'm gonna put you on hold for a second. I'm going to close out the show, and then I'll come right back. And that wraps up the show today. I want to thank you very much for joining me. The podcast is streamed live each week, and that allows you an opportunity to participate, and you're encouraged to participate, ask questions, and share your thoughts. I want to thank you. To participate, you can contact Altitude Adjustment by connecting via Skype at thelionsden.stl@gmail.com or at Google at thelionsden.stl@gmail.com. Please feel free to connect with me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and on YouTube. Be sure to look for this and other episodes where you listen to the podcast. Your likes and shares are internet gold. So like and share this episode and other episodes where you find them. Remember, be cool, be calm, and above all, be careful. Look out for the other guy, because they may not be looking out for you.